Somebody has a question or issue they'd like to bring to our attention, something that's not on tonight's agenda, just raise your hand, let us know, give us your name and address, and we will take it from there. I don't see anyone here present in the meeting room with a question or issue, unless there's somebody out on the Zoom call. We'll just proceed on to the next item on the agenda. Next up is regulatory hearings. This is a notice of intent. Michelle Nestor, 77 Concord Road. Katie Enright from Howard Stein Hudson is,
Let him do the
Yep.
work.
Actually,
He can do the work for you.
yeah, and Carl, could you give us the legal notice, please?
not first. This is for Old Westford Road. You said 77 Concord Road.
Oh, sorry. A little correction. Request for determination of applicability. Country Creamery, right, Coffee House? Yep,
Okay,
good, better,
we're now
good.
on-
All right, now.
we're now on
legal-
the same page.
Now we're on the same page. Sorry about
Pursuant
that.
to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, MGL 131, Section 40, and the Chelmsford Wetlands Bylaw, Chapter 187, the Chelmsford Conservation Commission will conduct a public hearing in Room 204 at the Chelmsford Town Offices, 50 Billerica Road, on Tuesday, March 15th, 2022, at 7 p.m. to consider the request for determination of applicability filed on behalf of property owner 272 Old Westford Road, LLC, by Country Creamery and Coffee House, LLC, for proposed work within the 100-foot buffer zone to an intermittent stream at 272 Old Westford Road, further identified as Assessors Map 58, Block 276, Lots 2 and 3. The project entails upgrade of sewer service to include installation of a grease trap and associated connection lines, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you very much, Carl. Now over to Katie.
All right, good evening, everyone. Katie Enright with Howard Stein Hudson. Mr. Coons has this beautiful drawing that Rick Roselle put together for us for the proposal of the grease trap outside of what was once known as the Shack or the store at Roberts Field. The site is pretty small, as you all have probably been by there. At one point in time, it's about a quarter of an acre. There's about a 500 square foot store on the site. It closed down last year, and the Morin family purchased it. They live right up the street from the store. They're looking at investing in the store and adding soft serve ice cream. And due to the soft serve ice cream, the Board of Health has required them install a grease trap. So we have met with Mr. Roselle at the site to talk about, he's basically drawn this drawing for us that's before you tonight that shows where the grease trap would need to be installed based on the existing kitchen that's in the facility. Site's already hooked up to sewer, so we'd put in a new sewer line out the back of the structure to the Trapzilla, which is this great little highly efficient grease trap outside the building with a very small footprint, and then tie back into the sewer line. When Rick was out there, he actually put in already silt sock and silt fence behind it, right at the edge of pavement. He was out there to actually construct it and went, hey, there's a stream here. We need to file with the Conservation Commission, which is why Mr. Morin contacted David. And we were here a couple weeks ago informally, and we're here tonight with the RDA. All of the work is being done in existing pavement. So with that, do you have any questions?
Thank you very much, Katie, for the overview. Appreciate that. I mean, I don't anticipate a lot of questions or concerns, frankly, from the commission, but let's start over here and see if we have any questions. Yeah, John.
I really don't. I think it's a great thing that they're starting a new business or getting that business back up, and that this isn't your plan. Okay? I know Rick's plans.
Yep.
Where's the engineer's stamp go?
Yeah,
There we
I'm
go.
not finding it.
Okay, no, I'm fine.
Good. Chris, anything?
I'm good, Chris.
Good, Dave.
Why does soft serve ice cream require a grease trap?
We've been asking
That's a good
ourselves
question,
that
Dave.
question.
Do you
I-
know?
So,
I understand the Board of Health told you, but
yeah,
is there,
the
a-
Board of Health just said that they have a
there a
hardline
technical-
any food
is there a
establishment
technical
needs a grease
reason?
trap.
there is no
admittedly-
grease in soft serve ice
they
cream, right?
admittedly
It better
said
not
they're
be.
Probably never gonna have to empty this thing, or very rarely, but.
That's too
I
bad.
think it's when you're making, so the Shack had coffee,
Yes.
and then everything was made and brought there. So nothing was physically made there, I guess. That's a food item that you could eat and leave with. That's the only thing I can think of, based on the regulations.
I take it they're not making you put in extra sinks or anything.
Oh, yeah.
They are? How
A
many?
sink, an interior grease
How many?
trap, and an exterior. So there'll be a triple base sink, and then a mop sink, hand washing sink.
What do they expect you guys to be making there? That's
Is
unfortunate.
gonna be any room left?
Not much.
Right.
Katie, or David, do we know that this isn't a permanent stream as opposed to intermittent?
I think I'm pretty sure it's intermittent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that would require different.
Right. The USGS doesn't show it at all.
Is that
Not even
right?
as intermittent.
Does it go behind the parking lot from the old fire station?
Yeah.
Really?
No, not from the old fire station. It goes.
From the pond?
It goes across the back of the property towards Old Westford and down.
Okay.
It
So-
That's all I
could,
had-
it
that's
could
all
have
I-
been dug when Roberts Field was created. I think That's
Yeah.
a possibility.
That might have
To-
created,
That's
Could be.
rerouted it.
Yeah. Bill?
I'm fine.
Okay. Mark?
I know what you're going through with the sinks and Board of Health. I did the coffee shop in the center, we had to put 11 sinks in there,
Wow.
so.
That's the way we encourage.
Well, hopefully you'll find the commission is friendlier to do business with here.
Like I said, that's the way we encourage
no
business in
different.
Chelmsford, yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Good luck with your business.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
yeah. Carl?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay. David, anything?
Negative determination, just the only conditions would be installation of erosion control, which has already been done, and I think just a brief meeting with the contractor on site before he starts work, so.
Okay. All right, well, it's a public meeting, so if anyone from the public has any questions for the commission or comments, just raise your hand. All right, none? Okay, so we need to, a motion then to approve with a negative determination number 3 with the conditions that David had just enumerated. Do we have a motion on that effect?
I move we issue a -3
Thanks, Dave.
for 272 Old Westford Street.
Thank you, Dave.
And there's a requirement that there be erosion control and that there be a meeting with the agent.
Prior to the work, yes. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Bill. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. All right, thank you very much. Good luck.
Congratulations.
So I'm passing around the signature sheet. There's also a signature sheet for an order of conditions that has to be reissued because it was never recorded.
Same place?
No, it's 45 Richardson.
That's all unrelated. Okay.
Totally unrelated. And
45 Richardson was
45
never
Is that
recorded.
from last year?
That's from last year. Doesn't need another vote. It's just because the owner doesn't have the original and never recorded it. A new original just has to be reissued.
That's a difficult site.
Yes, yes.
All right, so the paperwork's making its way around for signatures. We can proceed on to our next item on the agenda. This would be request for certificate of compliance, 77 Concord
I gotta sign that one.
Road. David?
Yes, so it was in the order of conditions that a request prior to the start of work for the new swimming pool, that a request for a certificate of compliance be submitted to the Conservation Commission for the construction of the house on the property. That was an order of conditions that was issued back in sometime in 2016, more than 3 years ago, so it has expired. I did notice some issues that concerned me when I did the site visit prior to the hearing for the swimming pool. So that's why I put it in the order of conditions, just so that at least to have this discussion started before the work on the pool started. So I think maybe from here I'll hand it over to Katie. She can go into more detail about what the issues are.
Great, okay, Katie, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Katie Enright with Howard Stein Hudson, and Michelle and Matt are with us tonight, too. They're the homeowners at 77 Concord Road. So we got into it a little bit when we were here before, and tonight we have filed for a certificate of compliance. I normally would not have at this point in a project because it's not ready to be certified by this commission, but because it's kind of a vehicle to have this discussion, and it's in the notice of intent that we need to do that as part of the pool plan. And we don't exactly have clear direction as to kind of how to fix what's happened here. We wanted to come tonight before the commission and have a discussion about what we should do to get us back on track, to get this certificate of compliance and make sure everything is fixed on site, essentially. When we were here before and we realized that the certificate of compliance had never been issued before, I went back into my emails from when the builder was still available with the house, and I had a list of items that I'd supplied the builder with to fix before we could issue the certificate of compliance. The builder very quickly sold the house to these nice people and took off.
Was this a new house?
Yes. So they purchased the house thinking that the builder had promised to fix the stuff and come get the certificate of compliance, and of course never called me again about the project. So there was a list that I had created back then. Some stuff is done, some stuff has changed since the house was built. We went and reflagged the wetland for the pool plan, so the wetland line has changed from where it was in 2016 versus 2021, which is why we created this new fun color-coded plan. So if you zoom out just to start, if you look at the green areas are new wetlands since the previous delineation, and the red are wetlands that are not wetlands anymore, according to the same person flagged it.
How old is this?
2016. Now, there's a reason that there's a lot of green on the side of the house, and that's because the builder decided to put in a sump pump and outletted it right there at the beginning of this well. So the pipe literally ends here, and it's flat. So the water doesn't go anywhere. So basically what it did is that it created this big wet area adjacent to the house, which is now jurisdictional. They didn't consult me on this, it just appeared when we went out there. So this has created this whole wetland area here, and then some of the other areas have changed or receded since 2016 slightly. Other things that happened from the plan that you approved versus the plan that we have for existing conditions today
Excuse me, the plan we approved was just to build the house, is that correct?
was to build the house
Nothing-
and a yard area and the driveway, right? Pretty much the whole, this is the 100-foot buffer zone is here, based on the 2016 line, which is technically what we're certifying against. But because there's a new line, we showed both lines on the plan, just so that we understand, but these buffer zones are shown based on where the wetland line was at the time of filing for the house. The buffer zone is out here for the 100. So basically everything in the buildable area of the lot, except for the driveway that goes out to Concord Road, is in the buffer zone. Can they hear me if I stand here? Is that okay?
Unfortunately, probably not.
Maybe
Probably
if,
not.
John, if you turn your
John, can I
mic.
borrow your microphone so I can point?
Oh,
Just to make it easier for everyone. So there's a sump pump that comes out here. The original survey for the project didn't have a tree line on it, but we could easily pull a tree line from an aerial. This used to be a tennis court and a yard area adjacent to the tennis court. Tennis court went basically to the house. The old tree line from aerial is this gray line, and the new tree line is this dark line. Now, there's no stumps out there, and the nesters haven't pulled down any trees, so.
The change in the tree line was the landscaping done when the house was built?
Right, yeah, because they didn't pull any trees down, so we're not really sure why the difference is there. We don't know how many trees came out during the construction of the house. And then, so the yard itself has expanded over time, and then the homeowners put in a shed back here because they didn't know about what was going on. So, a couple different things, and David and I walked it today with the homeowners. Couple of things that we talked about was certainly, basically how to rectify this, because what they want to do is they want to make sure that the proper things are done in the future, so when we come back for this COC to close this out, and then certainly close out the pool, that it meets the requirements of the commission. So to start, it might be worth just having a discussion. There's a couple other items. They were supposed to be riprap around this edge of the driveway. They've put in their smaller stone that's edged with pavers. It's holding. So I don't think that there's any need to put in larger rock there. It was really just to make sure that the driveway runoff that came off here didn't erode the grass around there, and it's working totally fine based on what I can tell. And then there was supposed to be high bush blueberries planted at the tree line, which was there before, which didn't ever happen either.
Which would have been where?
Which would have been at the existing tree line previously. And it didn't really say how many or where
And that was
exactly.
probably because we wanted the wetland line delineated.
Yeah.
We normally use
Good demarc.
Right.
things like that,
Demarcate
okay.
it. So there's some other things that we want to talk about too, as part of this. There's a lot of dead trees back here. The bittersweet has strangled out everything.
It's still there, bittersweet?
The bittersweet. The homeowners would like to, and it's.
Have you ever taken bittersweet out? Lots of luck. I don't mean that, that's, but it's not easy, it's not, and it's something that should happen, no question.
We want to try because it's ruining the forest.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
There's
No
a lot
question.
of dead trees, and so another question was the dead trees, if they could take the dead trees down, because basically if you look in their backyard, it's like, there's all these dead trees, and there's tons of bittersweet, and there's huge broken branches from up high.
Are they in the buffer zone, or are
No,
they in the
they'd be-
wetlands?
Some of them are in the buffer zone, most of them are in the buffer zone, probably,
Yes.
not in the wetlands.
That's right.
Well, they're in the, yeah, no, they are.
They're
We looked today, they're
outside
outside
of
the
the
wetlands,
flag
so they'll
area.
probably be within the 25 feet, no disturb though. So basically, there's like bittersweet, and you can see all these branches that have fallen out of the trees, just stuck hanging like everywhere in the forest behind them, especially
half of Chelmsford.
in this area here, yeah,
All you needed to say was bittersweet.
yeah. Well, we talked about it a little bit today, and just, there's so much of it that it's a never-ending task.
Did you mention the shed, Katie?
Yeah, the shed is way back here, so it's only like 13 feet from the wetland itself. So kind of if the shed's not on, it's on concrete blocks, so the shed can be moved. Do you want us to move it, should we move it to the 25? Should we move it all the way outside the 50 so that it's way up here next to the turnaround?
What's the purpose of the shed? Just to store stuff, or
Yeah, it's like landscape
like
stuff.
lawnmowers and stuff?
So Katie, I think you just kind of wanted to come in and kind of get some input from the commission then, as to kind of.
They want to fix it, they want to get a
Sure.
certificate of compliance,
Sure.
so, David and I talked about what some of those conditions might be, and I didn't want to tell the homeowner to go do certain things and then come to the commission and have the commission want them to do certain things more or differently, so we kind of just want one work path forward so that they can rectify this.
Yeah. And, typically the commission here, we're pretty reasonable working with homeowners in these type of situations. We want to make sure, obviously, the wetlands are protected, but, we kind of want to be reasonable and not put any particularly harsh burden on somebody. High bush blueberries, something like that, it's not a big deal to get them planted in an appropriate location. The shed could be, I would assume, kind of pulled back, maybe, we don't want it, in the wetlands area certainly, but pulling it back perhaps to, a bit, so it's kind of outside a 25-foot setback. But, David, do you have any initial recommendations for the commission to consider here with some of these issues?
Sure. I have some things to think about. I had asked Katie to maybe put together like an alternatives analysis with regard to the discharge, the location of the discharge of the sump pump. From today's discussion, it sounds like they really do need that. The basement would fill up very quickly with a lot of water without the sump pump. So I think there's little doubt that that's needed. A couple of things I mentioned. Well, if it stays where it is that going to have any impact on the adjacent property? I think maybe that's the main concern. And what about moving it to another location? What would be the impact there? Obviously, to relocate it would require some digging in the buffer zone, in the 25 no disturb, to move it over, I guess it would be to the southwest. Katie suggested, and I think it makes sense that the topography is such there. It's a little bit more steeply sloped, so that the water would flow away from the discharge rather than collect at the end of the pipe, what it's doing now.
Yeah, if we sent it this, what happened here is where it was discharged is really flat. So the water actually just pools there, and then it basically like moves its way into the wetlands eventually.
How much volume is needed? Is the pump
Hard to
running all the time?
All the time.
No, after a lot of rain, you
Yeah.
can hear it, but it certainly doesn't go on every day.
But if the,
Weather dependent.
yeah, if the discharge pipe had been put somewhere where there was enough topography so the water would flow,
Would a small retention pond be prohibitive?
yeah, I think it makes more sense to put it somewhere where the water would actually go away, which would be to put it somewhere, potentially discharge it at the 25-foot buffer over here. And then because the topography is such that it goes towards the stream, the water won't just sit there and pool. It'll actually make its way to the stream rather than just sit and stage. That would be my suggestion based on our site walk today. And then potentially, I don't know if this would ever go back to not being wetland again, but probably, but it might not,
Would that replace the wetlands that used to be there if you move the pump?
Right, it would probably.
No, would the pink become green again?
No, I don't,
Okay.
no. No, that has nothing, I don't think that doesn't have anything to do with the sump pump itself. I think that just has to do with probably, just the movement of the water. It's pretty minor in some of these areas.
Is your client going to have any recourse?
No, it's been years.
It's too bad.
It's been years.
He doesn't
We
return
tried.
any phone calls.
It's too bad.
Yeah.
So,
Other commissioners, questions, comments? Dave?
How many trees have you got to take down? And you said none are in the wetlands, right?
No, I believe that they're all in this area right next to the
And all,
shed.
is all 5 or is all 50?
No.
No, it's probably,
It's 5 to 7, yeah.
Okay,
approximately.
and how many of those are dead?
All of them.
All of them.
Are there any live trees you want to take down?
That willow one.
Barely
stem.
hanging on.
Yeah.
I would describe it as barely hanging on.
So you should take them down?
Absolutely. If you saw them, I think you would say that needs to
Is
be
there,
done.
is there any, if we let you take down trees, is there any room for you to plant a new tree or trees somewhere on the lot?
That's what we would like to do,
Good,
yes.
okay.
Yeah, exactly, some sort of native type tree. We don't generally like willow trees for one thing, they cause a lot of trouble.
I can't see, how close is the green area to the house?
so it's closer. We were right on the edge of the 50 with the original. And that's why David called me. He's like, the house was built in the 50. And I was like, no, it wasn't. But it is based on today's wetland line because the 50 is here.
So it's still pretty close.
So was here when you approved it before.
So we still should have some delineation, so yard waste doesn't go back there and stuff. And if we weren't gonna they weren't gonna put high bush blueberry there, they were gonna probably put it down where the pink is, right?
Well, that's what, they're probably gonna put it, I mean, right now, right, I would think that they were probably gonna put it down in this area somewhere, but it's hard to tell now. The homeowners are willing to work with the commission on what that edge is. We talked a little bit today about different options.
well, it's in the order of conditions for the swimming pool requires a permanent marking of the 25-foot no disturb setback. It gives a number of possible ways to do it, one of them being high bush blueberry. But see, that was issued against the new wetland line.
Right, which
So-
pulls the buffer
so-
here, and their lawn actually goes to here.
So this is, so Katie, look at my cursor, I think.
Right.
So that's the 25-foot no disturb for the new wetland line, right?
Right, but the old one was back here.
But if they do it according to the new wetland line, they're gonna lose a lot of lawn. So we talked about whether the commission might be agreeable to saying, well, it is a 25-foot no disturb setback from the old line, whether that would be acceptable.
I mean, there's a real chance that wetland will dry up if you move the
If we
pump,
move the
right?
source,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
It's a reasonable assumption.
So, Yeah.
And the
So, David?
25 didn't change significantly through here. It's really here that it's the worst.
I mean,
Because of the-
I think what they want to do is fine. I think I would like to see the new wetland area delineated the way David mentioned. I'd like to see some new trees replanted, anywhere on the lot. It doesn't have to be where you're taking them down. You don't have to go, and you said you don't have to go in the wetlands to take the
Not
trees
to take them down, no, they're all right here.
And how about the work to get the bittersweet out? Is that gonna be more difficult than just getting the trees out, or is that gonna be part of the same project, do you think?
I think it's part of the same project, because there are these giant vines that are wrapped around the tree, so when
Okay, so they're going way up the tree, so when you take the
yeah.
tree down, you're gonna take, because you know it's hard to get those roots out. It's not just the,
I mean,
it's not just the vine.
The bittersweet is like that in
Wow.
some cases.
Oh.
It's been there a long time. What I suggested was that they file an RDA for removal of the invasives, removal of the trees, and moving the shed, unless they're able to get the shed more than 50 feet away, in which case it's a minor
Yeah,
exemption.
particularly if you're gonna store fertilizer in the shed.
How big
'Cause
is the
sometimes
shed?
that-
Gasoline.
Or gasoline, because sometimes
And I-
that
and I
stuff
mentioned that,
will leach
yeah.
out, you know?
Yeah.
How big is the shed?
It's pretty small.
I think it's 8 by 10.
Yeah, I think that's right. It was small enough not to need a building permit.
Yeah, so sounds like we want to, pull the shed back,
And we talked about potentially just putting it up here, adjacent to the driveway
Yeah.
too, because it's still in close proximity to everything.
Go back to the bittersweet. It won't be a one-year project. Every year you'll have to take a look and see if new bittersweet's popping up.
Yeah.
Conservation Commission has two pieces of equipment that are levers that we acquired years ago that actually can get under roots of small bittersweet, not the kind that you're describing, but small, and actually lever the roots out of the ground if you want to borrow them. I don't know if you know where they are.
No, I have no
They're
idea.
somewhere.
I know where they are. I know where they are. They're at the-
I didn't even know such a thing existed.
they're at the little farm. The barn.
Okay, okay.
That's all I had.
Good. Any other input, feedback?
So I just want to go back for clarification. So, and maybe you want to take some time to think about it. Would the commission be agreeable to a delineation of the 25-foot no disturb setback is required in the order of conditions for the pool? But would the commission be agreeable to that being measured from the old wetland line or the new wetland line? Because if it's from the new wetland line, they're going to lose an awful lot of lawn. See, they're going to have only that amount of lawn
Well,
left.
if you're
right
gonna
now.
move the sump pump outlet, I'd go to the old line,
Right.
move the pipe, that water hopefully goes away.
Yep,
Yep.
yep,
Yeah, we make an assumption that it will go away, but I
Right.
think it's reasonable.
Right.
okay.
Yeah, and we want to be, reasonable, working with the homeowners, this type of situation.
And it was something that was done without their knowledge.
Exactly. So we're, I think you'll find, we're understanding about these situations, and, the big thing is we're trying to protect the wetlands, the values of the wetlands, but we want to work with people, help them out, not make things hard.
So one last thing, administratively, to move the pipe, I recommend an enforcement order, even though it's not in the sense of, punishment of any kind, but the order for the house is expired. So in order to avoid a new filing, it could just be done under an enforcement order. That's what I recommend.
Any problem with that,
Side
Katie?
to that?
No, we talked about it today. I think it's, even though it sounds negative, it's kind of.
No, I don't think so, because it's, it's still, the leverage is still getting the certificate of compliance. I mean, the commission can still withhold that if there's still any issues. I mean, I think it would be.
I think if they're okay with it, that sounds reasonable.
We
to
talked
us.
about it today, because although it sounds bad, it's probably the most appropriate path forward with that, without having to do a completely new filing.
Yeah, it's simpler, less expensive, it's probably
They'll
the easier
do
way.
that when the pool's being dug,
Yeah.
so we can get everything done at the
Yeah,
same time.
they're not gonna see their name in the term enforcement order on Facebook.
Yeah.
That's not gonna be on Facebook.
That was one concern, and then as long as there's nothing like on our deed or anything like that.
Oh,
then
I
that's-
can't
Nothing beyond the
speak.
original order of conditions. And conditions, enforcement orders allow for conditions. So I'll put just some conditions in there, for erosion control or whatever.
And even a note saying done to avoid.
Yeah, sure.
But as far as the trees and the bittersweet, we're talking about an RDA filing to do that.
That's what I would recommend,
Sketch.
yes.
Good luck.
Well,
Say
they
that
seem like they have a lot of energy.
Oh, it's worthwhile.
The animals in our backyard.
We do, and we like the forested area, we want
Yeah.
to preserve it, but.
So was this a notice of intent in the beginning, Dave, when they built the house?
Yeah. So I hope that kind of gives you guys some sense of, understanding, and
Yeah, thank
we were, glad to continue to work with you, and, we're here every, twice a month, so.
So we'll work on what that border, I guess, the 25-foot, no disturb, I guess, whether it's planting or combination of plantings and boosting rail with you, David, and we'll make sure that that's,
Sounds good.
okay,
That's good.
perfect. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, this was just a discussion item, right?
Right,
So,
we have no vote.
okay, so we'll be back, when the pool's done, and we can certify everything.
Excellent.
So, great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right,
There was
tonight's
nothing with the
agenda.
deed when they sold the house.
Off camera, we ought to find out who that builder was.
I'd like to know who that was.
So when he comes
Don't even
before.
say that.
So
Name
when he-
names.
No, we'll do it off camera. So when he comes back before us, we'll.
know?
Oh, she knows.
We all know.
You do? Well, you can tell us.
No, I
No.
So when
All
the
right.
house was sold,
Oh, that-
why wasn't there a
It
COC?
should have been.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's another good point. When you have, you do your title search, you'd
Right.
see the order of conditions, and then the closing attorney would be looking for a certificate of compliance.
that's how you get the original, the person
Right?
that did the
Exactly.
damage.
That's when you catch it at the closing,
Right.
and you hold them accountable then.
Right.
Yeah, the banks are really enforcing it now.
Yeah, I'm surprised it
But
didn't
it should have
happen.
been with that, when they
Yeah.
did the deed, the title
Exactly.
search.
They do the title search, and that would come right up. All right, well, moving right along here, under discussion, we have amending Willis Drive at 6th Avenue Conservation Property Land Use Regulations to allow temporary storage of rafts. And Dave, you've done some research on this, right?
It's not that one, Dave. Did I give you the amended? Was that the only thing I gave you? It's not on that poor
Okay,
PowerPoint.
I can bring up the original. I don't think you gave me the amended, Dave.
Can I send it to you right now or not?
Sure, yeah, you can do that.
All right. Pause a moment,
We'll see if his comes through.
and we'll see how the speed of the internet email here.
The speed of the internet at Town Hall.
Town Hall, it's going about 6 feet down the,
David was filtering out my emails. He was killing them all as they came in.
That was weird. We better find out what's going
I
on.
sent it to you yesterday. It's not here. Is there anybody on the Zoom?
No, there isn't, actually.
you have that TV audience, so the tunes us in usually late at night, after the fact.
Let's go to a commercial.
Because there was,
Go to a commercial, yes, go to the commercial break.
there was no drama on tonight's meeting.
See if you get it, Dave.
Sure.
You notice that 77 Concord Road's not on GIS.
It's not
Right.
Updated. That's the one that was a few weeks ago. and it's
Because the
not-
plan is sitting in the registry.
So they haven't split it, okay.
There you go.
Oh, you did it, you did it.
Love that internet.
Thanks, Al Gore.
Actually, I think we should make John Swenson our IT director.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Remember we were doing, Dave, remember those days, that whole, at least a year, wasn't it? Were we on just Zoom only for like over a year during pandemic?
Gibbs was the best.
Yeah, well, I remember one
Oh,
time. we had to- yeah,
while he's,
Remember that
while
time.
he's gonna bring it up,
Dave, I think you inadvertently sent me an email as the attachment.
how did I do that?
I don't-
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. Watching
How
what
do
you're
you do
doing
it?
here.
How do you do that?
So you just send me another email with the file as an attachment.
I thought I did. It says that right here.
You're playing the Jeopardy music.
We need some background. We need a theme music or something.
You mean none of you can sing?
No, I don't know if we want that. Though maybe Chris could.
Hey, He can play soccer.
He's a very talented
Yeah,
individual.
I'll put on some of my Amazon music.
Nice.
There you go, see?
I wonder why we're not highly rated on Chelmsford Town Media.
You know, our ratings are much better than Board of Appeals, I'll tell you right now. They gotta be.
That looks a little better.
It looks,
Well, it's still an email.
looks like it's still an email.
There should be an attachment with it.
The heck?
Is it a Word doc?
Yeah.
All right, we all have this though, right?
You don't have my revision.
Well, I can.
I mean, how much is there? Do you want to just read us what you changed, Dave? or-
No, it's, well,
More than too much?
no, I can read it, but the format's changed too, and I
Push to the
wanted,
next meeting.
We could push it to the next meeting.
no, let's not do that. Why do I send it to you with an attachment, but you don't get the attachment?
Well, I get an email. It appears you're sending an email with an email as an attachment, which is, in theory, perfectly legal to do.
That's you.
I can vouch for David Kay over here. I'm watching what he's doing, and he's,
Well, I'm gonna watch what Dave's doing here, so.
I'm gonna watch TV.
the Bruins on.
Nope.
Okay,
Yeah, so
get the Word
these-
doc, so you're attaching the Word doc. You've attached the Word doc. You're hitting the send. Warning. All right, it looked perfect.
There's no subject on it, David.
It looked perfect, Dave. I mean,
So it's gotta be town hall.
it's gotta be something in the.
I'll read it if he doesn't get it this
I
time.
did the second thing.
Third time should be a
I
charm.
mean, you did everything perfect. You had it lined up, it was
I-
attached Word document.
I just
Oh,
got
did you
my,
do it again?
I just got my BCC copy.
Okay, I've done it twice. That's an email.
Yeah, it's showing as an email attachment.
I BCC myself, and I've got it with an attachment. All right, just let me read it then. So
So I can bring up the existing. So this is as it currently reads.
Okay, let me tell you what, first of all, remember the discussion that we had was about the fact that some residents around Freeman Lake have stored they call it a boat. It's a raft on conservation property from the end of season, which is December, November, and it's still there now, and they anticipate they'll put it back in the water when it gets warmer. And so the discussion was, that's inconsistent with our regulations, which say that boats should be, are left temporarily. And I think this commission was of a mind to allow the raft to stay on the site in the off-season, meaning it should come out of the water and it should go back into the water. The raft is 10 feet by 10 feet now. That's the size of it. One of the residents said the reason that they store it at the edge of Freeman Lake is, one, to do normal maintenance on it, two, kids that, when it's cold enough and you can skate on Freeman Lake, kids like to sit on the raft to take their skates off and put their skates on. That's the reason it's used. So what I've done is taken the existing regulation that we have, and I have said, I've changed the format so that I segregated permitted uses from prohibited uses, which is not a bad idea. We don't do that on any of our regs, and I think going forward, we probably should do that anyhow, so that people can see them in the same section. But what I'm saying is the following: boats of a type that are permitted in Freeman Lake by the town may be launched from the property and temporarily stored on the property from April 1st to November 30th. April 1st to November 30th, in such a manner so as not to deny the use of the property by the public. Boats must be removed after November 30th. So that means they must be removed from the lake. Now, that means the raft would come out of the lake on November 30th. A raft or dock no greater than 15 feet by 15 feet, remember the one they have now is 10 feet by 10 feet, may be stored on the property from December 1st, the day after the end of November, until March 31st. So I'm covering the whole year. And that's the change I'm suggesting, so that the raft/dock is in the water for a certain part of the year, and it can be stored on the land for the remainder of the year. Now, that's not the same as other rafts, other boats, rather, where we say they're temporarily, although we say they have to come out, right? So,
Do you specify how many rafts?
No.
Does it say one?
no, no, it does not specify. We just say boats of any type that are permitted can be temporarily stored on the property from April 1st to November 30th. Now, we know right now that's not happening. There's a canoe and a couple of canoes and a couple of rowboats. So we'll have to concern ourselves, as we did before, with enforcing it. But that, right now, that's a separate issue, I think.
Yep.
And we see, we say things like persons using the property do so at their own risk and must observe any reasonable request made by the Concom or its agent. And it also says the Concom is not responsible for the loss of private property damage, for the loss of private property or damage. I will send this stuff to you, okay? The rest of the regulations that we have are exactly the same. I've done a little wordsmithing. I haven't changed the intent. Matter of fact, no, you guys don't have your computers with you, so I can't. I will send it to you.
That sounds good, Dave.
Is that what you wanted? Is that what we wanted? What's the intent? Because that
hits it right on the head.
Yeah.
So remember, I said, boats can be in Freeman Lake from boats in rafts, from April 1st to November 30th. A raft can be stored on the property from December 1st to March 31st. It doesn't say a boat can be stored on the property.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, without getting more specific in legalese, that sounds reasonable.
Yeah,
and we
exactly.
deal with it if somebody
Exactly.
doesn't follow what we're trying to do.
Yeah, it gives us something we can work with.
Yep.
All right, well, let's see. Do we want to take a vote on that?
Well, you probably want to read it.
Okay.
Well, I'll send it to you so you can read
Okay,
it.
all right, and then we take a
I think-
vote next time.
I think
then.
you want to vote on something you can read, right?
So, and I apologize for, this has all been going on and I haven't yet visited the property. But it's otherwise, my understanding is it's otherwise, clean and neat and well-maintained.
Yep.
It was mentioned to me, is there an erosion problem?
We have been advised that there is an erosion problem. It's not from runoff from the street. If there is an erosion problem, it's from where the boats get launched and pulled out of the water.
Oh, okay.
So I guess technically there might be, but it's not street runoff, to the best of my knowledge.
Well, I will have to go down and take a look at it.
Yeah, definitely.
As soon as I can.
Well, let's see if this goes out, because you're on this too, David. I'm going to send it to the commissioner. Okay.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate that. All right, so that's Willis Drive, 6th Ave. And then the reservations being designated as wildlife refuges.
This is my deal.
Yeah.
You all know we have about, 1,100 acres of conservation land, maybe it's 1,200. The inventory is not quite up to date yet, but somewhere around there. And in that, we have one wildlife refuge, which is the one which we call the Bobby Greenwood Wildlife Refuge. It's off of Concord Road, between Concord Road and the very end of Farms 1. It's property that Flaherty built out back in there. And there are 10 other reservations, like Crooked Spring, like Lime Quarry, you all know the names of them. And I believe that the town, if we have the land, should create specifically designated wildlife refuges. We would, I don't know how to do these things, so like the back, see that click to add text? That shouldn't be there. I don't know how, someone's gonna have to teach me how to do PowerPoint, you guys that are savvy. Anyhow, a wildlife refuge is used to to manage wildlife and diverse environment in the town. Refuges are managed to conserve and protect the diversity of native wildlife habitats, and it encompasses all wildlife and threatened and endangered species. We want to create a productive habitat for a healthy diversity of species. It's not a big deal to maintain these things. I mean, we would take a look at exotic plant control if there is any need for that. We'd take a look at what the bird diversity in the population is, and also keep an eye on water levels in the site. Now, what I'm proposing as 2 locations, I do not think has a water level issue. Our activities can be things like mowing old fields. There are none on these 2 I'm going to propose. They provide, and mowing fields, as we will do out at Warren occasionally, will encourage a diversity of birds. That's the kind of thing you're trying to do. All right, the ones that we have, the first one is the Bobby, go to the next slide, Dave, is the Bobby Greenwood Wildlife Refuge. I don't know how well you guys can see that. Can we darken it?
Yeah, I can enlarge that a little bit.
It's 32 right now it's 32 acres off of Concord Road.
Where's your screen say?
There is no public parking on the 32 acres at the present time.
Full screen view.
It was established in 2011 when Bobby retired. It's 25 acres. And what's interesting is it abuts a fairly large farm owned by the Wisniewskis, which would be to the upper right of the red Greenwood area. That's 25 to 26 acres. It's landlocked between Farms 1 and Concord Road. Someday, that one ought to be high on our list of potential acquisitions, because we could merge it with the Greenwood Wildlife Refuge. There are trails on the site now, but they're trails that were created, trails that were created by the neighbors. And I'm sure kids go through there. We don't maintain any trails out there. We haven't had any issues that I know about there. So that's the one that does exist. Now, I'm proposing we do 2 more. The first one would be what I have named, and you guys will all have to agree on a name for it. Go to the next one, I think. It's called the Black Brook Wildlife Refuge. And this is 16 acres off of Smith Street. It's across the street from Mr. Gibbs, and it abuts the Center Water Department, right? Yeah, Center Water Department. We've got 16 acres. There are 36 acres next to it owned by the Water Department. To my knowledge, there are no trails on it. There's no parking, and it's pretty much 100% marshland, which the conservation, and I suspect the Water Department is pretty much marshland as well. So that would be 16 acres under conservation control, plus another 36 acres owned by the Water Department. I think they're now taking water back out of that. I think they've reactivated those fields. I don't know. They were going to. Do you know if they
I
have?
don't think they have yet.
Okay. So there will be no activity out there to speak of. And then the third one that I would propose we do, and Black Brook Wildlife Refuge, Black Brook goes out of it or through it. This is not being done to help the beaver problem in Mr. Gibbs's property. The third one I would propose we do is what I call River Meadow Wildlife Refuge. It's a 44-acre parcel which is much bigger than most of us realize. I don't think I discovered it until about 3 years ago. It's between River Neck Road and Route 495, and just about Route 3 and Billerica Road, River Neck Road intersection. At the far end, just is where Mercury Computer Building is. And at the other end is where pretty much where they rebuilt the intersection of River Neck Road with Billerica Road. There is no parking available for this site at the present time. Our biggest neighbor there is the water department. Again, they put the new plant in there, 6 years ago, 5, 6 years ago? Residents use it pretty much coming from the Carter Drive, Dawn Drive area, which is to the left of the conservation property. This happens to be the site right now where the Zoo New England is doing their wood turtle study. So in that sense, it lends itself to a wildlife refuge.
Isn't this also where the overflow from the project that we're talking about?
Overflow.
Compensatory flood storage.
Oh, in the hearing on the
Isn't that going in here?
yeah, in the hearing on the
Turnpike Road.
Road sidewalks, the compensatory flood storage is in this site, I guess, closer to Mercury Computer than it is to Carter and Don Drive, I
I
think.
think it's between Mercury Computer
Yeah.
and that brook.
Yes.
As you can see, the
Somewhere in
River
there.
Meadow Brook goes straight through the property. Now, here again, the kids use this. There are a couple of trails out there. Kids have mountain bikes and dirt bikes that go on it. No parking, although I suppose people could park in the industrial parking lots, although I've never seen anybody. There's a big parking lot that Mercury Computer used right next to where this,
Is that building occupied now?
I think Mercury left and went to Andover, right?
That's where they're planning that big project.
Yeah, okay.
Those two buildings on the right-hand side are the two where the new distribution center, I think, is gonna go, or I hope they plan to go. Now, we do not have, so that's what I would like to do, create 2 additional wildlife refuges because they don't, 2 things, I think it's a good idea. Second one, we don't utilize them for public passive recreation, primarily because of their location. And I don't see that changing. We would have to come up with new use regulations for this. And what I propose we do is take our existing use regulations and only have 2 permitted uses for the site. One is walking on existing trails. 2 is allowing motorized devices for the mobility impaired. Everything else nothing else would be allowed. No outdoor passive recreation, no creating of additional trails or stream crossings, no fires for any purpose without our approval. Still retain that, because there might be a reason why we'd want some kind of a fire, controlled fire, I don't know. No alcoholic beverages, no cutting, mutilating, removing, or taking away of trees. If you go to the next slide, Dave. The next one may be a little hard to read because it's small. No cutting, mutilating, removing, or taking away of trees, shrubs, flowers, wood, or material export, including rocks, without permission of the Concom. No disorderly conduct or obscene or indecent behavior. No removal or defacing of any sign, property, or barriers on roads. No business or commercial activity on the sites allowed. No hunting or trapping without our approval. No carrying, discharging, or using any weapon except by duly authorized law enforcement. The use of vehicles of any kind except those authorized by us or those used by duly authorized law enforcement. So no vehicles at all. I guess a motorized wheelchair for the disabled is considered I don't know whether that's considered a motorized vehicle or not, but we call it out by its name, so. No camping or remaining overnight without Concom approval, no dumping or leaving of any materials, and no unleashed dogs. So the prohibited uses are the exact same ones that we have now in our reservations. Some of these permitted uses are, yeah,
This land, do we own this land, or is
Yes.
this just, we do own?
this is Concom land.
Good, excellent, good.
It's not town land.
So is really the difference between this and one of our reservations is a parking lot? And
The
maintain
physical
trails?
difference is
Maintain
parking lot, and we don't maintain them at all. I mean, we don't, cost does not, as far as I know, cost doesn't go on these sites, and they're not listed in the memorandum of understanding.
Okay.
And I would propose they not be. Now, it may, someday we may get to the point, if we did this, where people say, hey, look, we've got to do some maintenance to improve this wildlife refuge. And we'd have to figure out what that is, because I don't know what it is. I think the best thing you can do is to leave them alone.
Yeah,
So is hunting and trapping allowed on the other reservations?
No,
No, okay.
without, with Concom approval. Without, it's not allowed without our approval. And we, to the best of my knowledge, we've never approved it.
we had, one time we had a lady come in with a hawk, and we authorized her to hunt with her hawk.
Oh,
It was very, very limited.
The most recent one, Dave, somebody up at
Bow and arrow
Oak Hill
guys did
wanted to build a shooting stand in a tree, and we said we'd look at it, but we'd
Bow and arrow, right?
bow and arrow.
Yeah, bow and arrow, yeah.
We didn't allow it. There was another one that we, but the few times that people have asked us for authority to discharge firearms, we've said no.
Yeah,
Oh, I know, yeah, we have never had a request to cull any deer or anything, which might require shooting.
The only thing about a wildlife refuge that strikes me, I know if you go to like Audubon Wildlife Refuge, is no dogs, no animals. And the reason for that is
Scares them.
trying to protect the wildlife, so
Right, scares the
dogs
wildlife.
don't do well.
So, I
No
mean,
matter
we-
what you say about leashing, people will
Well,
go,
that's the problem, but, I mean, although,
but we're not gonna enforce this, I mean.
either, I mean, we have trouble enforcing the leash law now in the cranberry bog in places. So, I mean, we could say no dogs allowed, but we'd have the same problem enforcing that as we do saying they must be leashed.
Right.
So that's what I suggest we consider doing. Maybe we should take a couple of meetings to think about it, and this discussion tonight might solicit some
Yeah,
questions from the
we might
public.
even get some public input, yeah. but-
Dave, the one on River Neck Road, there's a potential for an apartment complex at some point,
Oh.
right? This abuts that.
Where? Well, so, I mean, it's not on our property, though, is it?
I think where would it be, Bill?
The
Down
apartment's gonna be beside the water department's pumping station.
Oh, yeah, yes, yeah, that's private, right, that's the
Right.
one that we.
That
had-
abuts this, right?
Yeah, that
So
abuts it.
Would it be good to make a refuge out of this because of the amount of people that may be there, that may walk dogs down there, or may do, I mean, is it,
You mean,
is it proactive to do this?
No,
for that property?
I hadn't thought of that, I know what you mean. That's, for some of you, that's where some neighbors put up a big defense of that site and actually got the turtle, got turtle gates, remember? Put in that, but that property's up for sale, it's been up for sale now for
For a long
a couple of
time.
years more, right? They still want $9 million for it, I think. But now I know what you mean, Bobby.
But there's a potential for,
Well, it
how
would,
many
it
there's
would
70
put,
units,
it
right?
would
But this
put,
could be proactive.
Yeah, it
and
would-
good
well,
reason to do it, maybe.
but we couldn't stop that by
No.
having a wildlife.
No, I'm not
No.
saying stop the project, I'm saying better for this piece of land
Yeah.
if that's made a refuge as opposed to what it is right now,
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know?
well, maybe we just, like, take this up again at our next meeting, and.
I will send this presentation around to all of you so you have it.
I mean, I'm kind of favorable to it, you know?
And, I mean, there's nothing sacred about the names. I picked the name of the stream that went through it, that's all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
I like that.
I liked it, yeah.
Do they have any names now?
No.
No names now,
No.
right?
Plot numbers.
Right.
Well, I mean,
Reminds me, Billy, we ought to go out to the Bobby Greenwood one and make sure that You can read the stone.
I know.
So who was Bobby Greenwood?
What?
Who was Bobby Greenwood?
He,
It was a legend.
shame on
He's
you.
the man.
There's a legend here.
He was a
No
30,
I didn't know him
he was a 30-year member of the Conservation
Oh,
Commission.
wow. Like,
Very shy.
32 years.
Yeah.
Loved DEP. He couldn't get enough of DEP. He was his job, Dave, he installed and maintained sewers, private sewer lines. So he knew where all the bad stuff in town was.
No, Bobby was, very lovable guy. He, outspoken, loved a good argument here with the
Yeah.
commission.
Chris and Billy were very close to him.
Yeah, yeah. But, yeah,
Yeah,
so
we'll have
anyway.
to check on that, Dave. Take it right out to.
It's,
yeah.
so did the town meeting actually designate?
I don't think so.
name?
Nah, we did it.
Yeah, we did it.
We
We had a stone, we had a granite stone made, and it's at the end of whatever that's,
It's nice.
Sandra.
Sand or
Nice.
whatever the end road
Yeah.
is there.
And
You
had a
know the
hell of a
Quiz-
time
the
getting it out
Chris
there.
Nickies that own that big piece of
Wisniewski.
farm?
Wisniewski.
Knewski's,
You know
yeah.
the family?
Yeah, Mark, yeah.
Maybe we ought to start talking to them. I don't,
They're not gonna talk to him.
they can't develop it, can they?
He has no intention.
Good, good,
Mark's retired now,
good.
goes skiing.
Well, maybe we could introduce him to conservation restrictions.
He's already a tree farm
Good.
On that site?
on that site.
Oh,
He's
good.
a designated tree
How
farm,
does he get into it, do you know?
right from Concord Road.
From Concord.
Yeah, they've already logged it and done stuff.
Well, that's good, so they're thinning
No,
the
it's a
trees.
tree
out.
farm. It's,
Good.
Tony, back in the day, got that in.
Well, great. Well, that's good. So we'll take it up again next meeting and see if we get any input, but I think you're on to something good, Dave. All right, so back on tonight's agenda. Let's see here, the update on the residential tree regulations.
Nobody on the tree committee was available for the first meeting, so we haven't
No
done one.
meeting yet? All right,
That's gonna be hard.
all right.
It's gonna be hard, we're gonna,
It's a long game.
Yeah, it's gonna take a while.
one of the gentlemen's wife is quite ill, and he's unavailable a lot. The other two, I think, work during the day, so Carl and I will have to give up one of our drinking nights or something. But we'll figure it out.
All right.
It's still not a bad idea, and I'm amazed at how receptive people have been when any of us have suggested, could you plant a couple of trees?
Yeah, we have, everybody's been open to it, you know?
Well, and these folks that were here tonight, when I met with them today, I mean, they did emphasize they do want to plant native trees
Yeah,
after
good.
they get rid of the bittersweet, and take
Good.
down the dead ones. So
No, that'd be good.
definitely encourage them.
Excellent. All right, so then moving our meeting night to the second and fourth Tuesdays, you want to tell us a little bit about the background on that?
Sure. So there's been a request to, for personal reasons, well, actually, it's because someone has a commitment starting up, who works for the media company from May to August. They have a personal commitment where they, that's on the first and third Tuesdays. So they've asked to move to the meetings to the second and fourth Tuesdays.
This is just so we can televise it?
Yes. And at least from May to August. And the only thing I would add is that from my personal perspective and schedule, that actually, the second and fourth works better for me. So if that could be done permanently, that would really help me. So not that it's a huge hardship to be able to do the first and third, but it just would work out a little bit better to do second and fourth. So that's what triggers
Just to note, one other thing I realized when I saw that is we're going to miss the first Tuesday in April and I believe in November because of election.
Well, in most elections.
So
Right.
this
Right.
would mean we wouldn't miss a meeting.
Right.
Twice a year.
No, and that's
by design, and
a good
plus.
point.
That's a
Yeah.
plus too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, would it be a hardship for anybody to make the change? I mean, Not for me, but,
Why is everyone looking at me?
I mean, you're very,
Any night's a hardship for you,
Not gonna
right?
be a problem with your other meeting.
I mean, you know, you gotta check the Bruin schedule out too.
Whist-
The
whist
Bruin
night?
schedule, you know?
I gotta check the Bruin schedule, yeah.
So the only thing I
So,
do,
Dave, if we do this, could you maybe just publish a schedule for the rest of the year?
sure,
Now, we normally have one meeting in August instead of two. Depends on the schedule, but we normally lighten up in July and August. So I think we ought to schedule the 2 nights and recognize that one of them we may not hold.
the only thing I would make it contingent on is, and I've already done a little bit of research, it doesn't look like there isn't another board or commission that meets on the 2nd and 4th, but I just need to confirm that. So if you
School
just make the
committee
vote.
meets on Tuesdays, right? But I don't know
They're
what,
not here. They're in,
right.
They're at the
Bedford
admin
Road.
building.
But that would mean we'd be competing with them on television.
They're on tonight.
They are.
They're on when I left the house.
Oh, good. So
Who's this finance committee?
So that's good, then we're not competing with them.
I don't see any issue.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like
I
there's any,
I don't have a problem with
doesn't
it.
sound like a problem to anybody, so, let's
Make it
do it.
effective the next meeting, or,
Yeah.
or effective in April?
I would say starting in May.
May?
So
Okay.
there's no meeting on the 5th because of the election.
Right.
I've already scheduled some things for the 19th, so I would say starting in May.
Okay.
Just might notify our regular fees and, you know, the.
Yes.
You'll have to get the word out to our TV
they're all
audience, obviously.
Burned in, first and third, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think it'll affect our ratings at all.
We'll have to call TV Guide.
TV guy, yes,
I'll
TV
have
guy.
to stop the presses.
All right, well, very good. All right. Next, we're moving on to Odd Fellows. What's happening out at Odd Fellows?
So I drove past the building today, noticed there was some work going on outside on the building. Wasn't sure what was going on. It's not on the wetland side of the building, but still in the, the riverfront and buffer zone. So I contacted Mr. Bayani, asked him if he could give me an update what's going on. And so he answered by email, which I forwarded to the commission. So he did assure me that, for, the actual siding, which is, I guess, what they're preparing to do, to install vinyl siding on the side of the building, that he assured me that, he would, before they did anything, they would have an on-site meeting with the contractor and, like before, with the demo, have a work sequence and the steps they're gonna take to protect the wetlands.
Putting vinyl siding on the building?
The historical commission gonna allow that?
That I don't know.
I'd be really
I think that's what I
surprised.
understood him to say.
Yeah, that's,
Now,
doesn't seem.
historic district is Beaver Brook towards Dennis McHugh's offices, right? Not Beaver Brook towards the library. Isn't that where the delineation of the historical district is? Although, historical commission has a say in
Yeah, the
what
center
buildings
district is
look like.
different, yeah. I'm not sure where it comes. It goes down Chelmsford Street and up towards the old.
Well, I'm glad to see they're starting the renovation.
I hate to see vinyl siding in a building.
I know, I mean, given its history and the age, I find that hard to believe.
That's
So
why
do you-
Brenda Lovering, she'll tell you. Brenda Lovering's the chair of the Historic District
right.
Commission.
Well, let me go back and double check, but I think that's what he
Well, that
said.
doesn't affect us, I don't
Right,
think.
right. But, I don't want to be the
Just
source of any
citizens.
unfounded rumors.
We're all citizens, so it does, just not as a board.
Yeah, yeah, it would be good to touch base with Brenda, just gotta give her a heads up. We hate to see something happen and, if they end up doing something that's out of line with that commission and cost everybody a lot of needless time, expense, and aggravation.
What is the does the historical commission have to approve it? Is there some sort of process?
Yeah, yeah.
If it's a historical site,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's in a district.
Well, it's any building that's over 50 years.
No, there's designated areas.
There's no historic
designated areas?
preservation on that building, is there?
Anyhow,
I think there
I
might
think
be.
we still don't know if we're gonna see any additional plans on that site, do we?
Any additional plans?
Or plans.
Plans.
Plan, period, probably, yeah.
Still waiting for that.
We need to.
Waiting for that first plan.
At a minimum, I'd like to confirm that the parking lots are going where we were told they're going, that they haven't changed. So much has happened on that. Now, and I don't know, who's the engineer? Is it Katie? For the Oddfellows?
She was for the original
Right,
project.
but is she for the Oddfellows?
I believe so.
Okay, well, she's smart enough to know to come before us with a change, I think. Just for all of your information, you realize that the site's gonna be split up, so the Fisk House will be a separate site. Santander has been sold to a businessman that's gone to long-term lease, so that's gonna stay there. There's some talk about the town buying the lot where Jay was gonna put his condo in as town parking. And if they do any site work on the parking lot, they'll have to come back to us, because that'll be different. And the Oddfellows, that may not change, but then we're gonna see 9 Acton Road at some point in time, unless planning board kills it. Because that's condo, it's 30-unit condos right on on the back doors of Beaver Brook.
Almost the entire site is in the commission's
So
jurisdiction.
we'll see that one.
Wow.
There's still discussion about what's gonna happen to the Exxon site. That may be outside of our jurisdiction, I don't know, although it had an EPA problem years ago, didn't it? On the
From the dry
ExxonMobil
cleaner
site.
place, yeah.
Um,
And I
And
think
then-
there's water that runs under the street or something
Yeah.
like that.
And then Jack Hanley's building is gonna change hands, so if anybody wants to do work there, they're gonna have, because that building sits right over Beaver Brook when it crosses under. So we're gonna see a lot of activity, not a lot, we'll see activity in the center.
Okay. All right, well, very good. Thanks for the update. Then we were looking for an update on the Warren Paul reservation situation.
So, turns out that the state has issued a new template for conservation restrictions last November.
Last November?
Yeah, and so we are now.
It only took us till last week to hear about it.
Yeah, we just heard about it last week, so.
I hope you didn't waste too much time on the.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
We're on version
We'll see.
6,
Version
on
6.
the old template.
Yeah, so we'll,
We're running up a big legal fee, I'm sure, too.
we've asked the, Chris Alphin, who's the lawyer in that office, to put it into the new template, and then we'll start the round again. We'll
Yeah.
review that, and then we'll go connect with the land trust and move forward. So we're probably a week or
Yeah,
two or three
and I think
away.
we're almost together with the land trust on the
We're
language.
pretty close, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We are still expecting a baseline survey with the land stewardship, but I haven't heard anything other than
I don't know if you noticed,
sometime
Carl,
in March.
that new template, that baseline survey is called out as a paragraph.
Yeah, I'm sure it is,
Yeah.
yeah. I didn't get to look at it, but I'm not surprised. And then finally, the driveway parking lot, I haven't heard anything. Do we have any dates or?
Well, it turns out that I had to resend the DEP, the order of conditions, because I did not send the original to, well, I didn't send the original either by certified mail or hand delivery to the applicant. I sent it by email to Scott. Now, that's something that the central office would not have cared. It would have been okay with them, but apparently the Northeast Regional Office is a real stickler for those sorts of details, so.
Do you know our circuit writer, Dave?
I'm getting to know her, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Who is
So,
Alicia.
Alicia,
Yeah.
yes. So, so I just sent the original, I had to put a new date of issuance in the original and then send that off to DEP, which I did last Friday. But, you know, I asked her, well, can you give me an idea? Do you have any issues with the order? And she wouldn't tell me.
Certainly not.
But if we haven't heard from her within 10 days.
Right.
We
It's
can-
10
we're free to
it's
go.
10 business
10
days.
business days.
Okay.
So about another week and a half.
Okay.
So I apologize for that. I just,
I suspect that it wouldn't have, the DPW wasn't ready to go anyway, so.
Mhm.
I'm
I'm
sure
sure
they've
you're
had some
probably right.
disruption over there
And
lately, so.
Scott Ludwig is the project manager on this for us. And
And
we,
he's still there, right?
yeah, he's still,
And-
as
and-
far as we know, he's still there.
And I have said to him,
Might
you
be
know,
moving
that, you know, we could meet on site anytime to, you know, discuss the preparation. So there's nothing preventing that, so I expect to hear from him soon.
And that's all I've got on Warren Poll, and I started scratching my head on all the other sites, and I don't know of anything else on any other sites
Okay.
going on. It's pretty quiet at the moment, as far as I can tell.
Good, excellent. All right, we have minutes, we've got our, we need to take a vote on, the February 1st one, we didn't need to take a vote on that, right, Vivian?
Yeah, you do.
We
Yeah.
have to take a vote.
We
yeah.
wanted,
We just had to double check.
you
with
wanted
town
everyone to take a look at the
Yeah.
discussion with,
Right.
There was some,
The
there was some
Davenports.
revisions done and
There were
sent to
some?
town
Okay, good.
council, and Dave did a lot of that work on
Good.
it.
has council seen our?
Yeah,
minutes? Oh, yeah,
and
good.
he's fine. He does not recommend making them any less detailed.
Good, so we need a motion then to approve the minutes for February 1st as well as the minutes of
Give me a
February.
minute on the
February
15th.
15th.
I don't think I saw it.
Take a moment, though.
Well, you sent me an email saying you
Did
saw
I? Oh,
it.
then I did see it. Thank you.
All right? Do we have a motion then?
So move we approve the minutes of the commission for February 1st, 2022, and February 15th, 2000.
All right, motion by Dave. Second by John.
Yeah, second.
All right, do we need more time, or are we good? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous.
I abstained from first. I wasn't there.
Abstention, yes.
Oh, really?
I wasn't there.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Well, that was the night when he
Well,
was
yeah.
elected to that very prestigious
Yeah.
appointment. How's that going, by the way?
The microphone, are the microphones off yet? The microphone's off yet?
No, we're still meeting, All right, so moving on to our agenda, that's basically it for tonight. We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved by Carl, seconded by Chris. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
I take it.